Today, we're going to build an AI agent that fixes your bugs for about 10 cents each. This is Raza Writes Code. I've created a GitHub project. It's called Fix Bugs Agency. So the goal of the project is to demonstrate an AI-powered bug fixing system. There are two components to the project. There's a bugged chat server, and then there's the AI agent bug fixer. The bug chat server is just a one file Golang server. It's just a demo. It doesn't save anything to a database. It's not super useful. It's just a demonstration of some basic functionality and a bug that we'll use to build the AI bug fixer. So we'll just work through the README file here. At a high level, we're going to set up the bug chat server. We'll start it. We'll run some commands that work. We'll run some commands that expose the bug, and the server will create log files since we've exposed the bug. And then we'll work on the AI bug fixer. In this case, the code is already here for you, but in the video, we will build it from scratch so that you see the process of how to build an AI agent step by step. We're going to use an amazing open source library called Agency Swarm by Versen, and it's a thin wrapper around the OpenAI Assistance API, but it's an amazing thin wrapper because it's really powerful. So let's get started. We're just going to clone this project. Git clone, paste that. All right, let's cd, and let's start following the README here. So we'll cd to the bugged chat server. We'll install any Go libraries in case there are any. In this case, there are none. We'll run the startup script to start this bug chat server. Server started, cool. And then we can just run some commands that show how the chat server works. This command basically is sending a message from Alice to Raza. Oh my god, AI agents are so cool, right? And there's an expiration time, which is just after 20 seconds, Raza will not be able to read this message. So server is happy with that send. We'll have Raza fetch his messages. Boom, okay, so Raza got the message, awesome. If Raza tries to get the messages again, there's nothing left, because as soon as you read a message, it's been quote unquote consumed and there's nothing left. You'd have to send a new message for Raza to see anything else. So that's the working case. Let's do the case that exposes the bug. So in this case, we're not going to send expires. So we'll send a message from Alice to Raza, but there's no expires. So let's see what happens. Okay, so the send is fine. The server says, okay, cool. You sent a message, great. It's here, it's ready for Raza to consume. Now let's have Raza try to get his messages. Okay, boom, internal server error. So something is wrong here. Just because we didn't send expires doesn't mean we should have a server error, right? So okay, Raza is trying to get his messages, no luck. All right, well, we're gonna fix this. AI will fix it. So let's real quick just take a look at the error logs, see what those actually look like here. Okay, boom, just like a gross stack dump that Golang produced. So I don't want to deal with this. Let's have AI deal with it, right? So let's shut down the server too, since we're done with that. Cool. So in this case, the instructions have us move to the AI bug fixer. In our case, we're just going to create it, a brand new one from scratch, right? So there is the AI bug fixer. Let's just make our own, right? We're going to build our own from scratch. YouTube. All right, so we'll go inside here. And I think it's good to create a virtual environment. That's how I do all my Python packages. Just kind of, it makes sure that any libraries that you install are localized to your specific project. So I do have a virtual environment from a previous session. I'm just going to deactivate that. Cool, so we're back to no virtual environment. So let's create a virtual environment, because this is a brand new Git project. We don't really have anything here. Python-m venv. We'll give that a sec. Cool, that's done. Let's source venv bin activate so that we're now in the virtual environment. To just confirm that everything worked, let's just make sure pip refers to where we are, right? AI bug fixer YouTube venv bin pip. and then Python should be the same. Cool, so we're all good with our virtual environment. In this example, we would install requirements.txt. We don't have a requirements.txt because we're starting from scratch, but the requirements are just the agency swarm open source project that I mentioned earlier. So I have that here. Let's just scroll down to grab the command to install it. Okay, so pip install -u agency swarm. Let's run that. Okay, agency swarm is now successfully installed. Let's take a look. Okay, nothing too special here. Let's create a main.py from, scratch, right? We will give it a comment, which is our intention for this file, which is this. This will be an AI agent that reads error logs as well as studies source code, right? Then comes up with a fix to the source code in order to prevent the errors from happening ever again. It will write a diff file with the proposed changes. Cool. So that's done. Let's pop that open in Cursor, and we'll let Cursor kind of take care of the rest here. I went to high level. Let's go inside AI Bug Fixer YouTube. Cool. All right, so here's our file. And then let's give it a prompt. I have it copied here. I'll make it easy. I would like to create an agent, AI, agent that does what the comment says. I will use agency swarm, which is an open source GitHub project. I pasted some sample code. All right, so let's grab some sample code from agency swarm. They have a really nice getting started section. So this is some good code. That's in there. Tools. I'll go over what each of these are, but at a high level, just keep track. We've got tools. We've got agents. I'm just blindly copying his example code. So we've got tools, we've got agents, and then we've got agency, which kind of defines the communication flows. So let's grab that. Cool. So that's the sample code, and then there's a way to run it, so we'll run it via the terminal since we're all working on the terminal right now. So let me clean up these errors. So we're not going to need a developer. We don't need a virtual assistant. This is good. Let's just move it to the top. What else we got? We don't have a dev and VA. We just deleted those. We'll just have a CEO. And we can definitely rename this CEO with the AI. So, but at least now we don't have any red errors. Let's pop this at the top. All looks good. Do something. Okay, can comment that out. That's for us to fill in. Cool. So I think we're good here. I'll maybe move this here. So let's start with that. Let's run this prompt against this sample code. And the Cursor AI will basically just read this and kind of modify the code here to do what's in this comment and what I've explained here. So I pasted some sample code. Can you help me massage this into the agent we are looking for? I want it to be one agent. The agent has 3 tools, one tool for reading the error logs, one for reading source code, one for saving the changes to disk as a diff file. So earlier I had mentioned there's a few components to how we use agency swarm. There's a concept of agents. In our case, the agent is going to be the bug fixer agent. The thing is, an agent is just an AI, right? It has no knowledge of has no access, let's say, to the real world. Like, it doesn't have access to your source code. It doesn't have access to your error logs. It doesn't have access to your folder where you want to save the final diff file. You have to give it eyes, ears, arms, legs, etc. You have to give it its hands, right? That's what tools are. So we'll have 3 tools for each of the 3 items that I mentioned. A tool to read error logs, a tool to read source code, a tool to save a diff file to disk. And that's it. That's the whole AI agency. 1 agent and 3 tools for this specific use case. So let's give this a go and see what it comes up with. Certainly, I'll help you modify the code to create an AI agent that reads error logs, studies source code, and creates a diff file with proposed changes. Here's how we can adapt the existing code to achieve this. Awesome. Okay, so we have a read error logs tool, we have a read source code tool, we have a save diff tool. Okay, at a high level, that looks really good. And then we have some instructions. For the specific agent, we have those tools, and then we have the agency, which defines communications, gives instructions, and then we run this AI agent, and we'll interact with it on the command line. So let's read what it said. This code creates a single agent called bug fixer with the 3 tools as requested. 1, 2, 3. The agent's instructions guide it to use these tools in sequence to analyze errors, study the source code, propose fixes, and save the changes as a diff file. To use this agent, you'll need to replace your API key with your actual OpenAI API key, provide the necessary file paths when running the tools for error logs, source code, and output diff file. You can customize the agent's behavior further by modifying its instructions or adding more specific logic to tools if needed. Okay, this looks good. So let's apply this, and we'll start reading through the source code and see what kind of edits we may need to make. The first thing is just OpenAI API key. I use .env files, .env. So I'll just tell AI to do that. So hey, I like using .env files for OpenAI keys. Can you make this code read from a .env to get the OpenAI API key? Python has a python.env lib. Certainly, I'll modify the code to use python.env to read the OpenAI API key from the .env file. Here's the updated version. Cool. Let's just blindly apply it. .env os OpenAI API key gets the environment variable and then sets it. Perfect. Any other changes? No, nothing. We'll accept it. Save all. Let's go to our terminal and just make sure we have that env file so that we don't. So we actually have the API key available. So ls-l.env star. So we don't have it. I did create some example envs. So let's ls-l again. Cool. Let's see here. Boom. Okay. So .env.example. So this is what you should do. You should copy .env.example into .env and put your OpenAI key right there. And then you'll be able to run this code. So let's go back to here. Okay. So that's cool. We've handled our .env. Let's go through these tools. So the way Agency Swarm works in terms of tools is docstrings. You use docstrings to describe what the tool does. You use docstrings to describe the inputs to the tool. So what we're saying is we have a tool, it's called read error logs tool. We tell it, we give it a docstring about what its purpose is. We give it a docstring to say, hey, you're going to take in a log file. What is the log file? It's the path to the error log file. Okay, cool. And then what is this thing actually going to do? What is going to give the AI? It's going to read the log file into a string and return error logs content. Perfect. The way to think about this is like you have an AI, which is the brains, but the AI needs data. It needs to interact with the world. And so the tools enable the AI to interact with the world. The tools return data to the AI, and the AI uses that data to make decisions, and then it uses tools to do things with that data. But the intelligence is with the AI. The tools are just its eyes and ears, as I mentioned earlier. So we have read error logs tool, we have read source code tool. So read source code tool, what's the point of this? Well, it's for reading and analyzing source code. Great. So it's going to take a source file. So the AI has to tell this tool, hey, what file do you want? And we hope that the AI figures out from the error logs which file specifically, like what is the name of the file that I want to study. Okay, so what does this tool do with that file name? Well, it says open that file and read it in and return it. Boom, perfect. We may need to modify this a little bit, like, hey, you may need to like search for the file, right? If it's in directory structure, like, okay, there's an error in main.go. Well, main.go may not be at the top level. Maybe it's in some directory structure. So that's a possible modification we'll need here. we can look into it as we start testing. Finally, the last tool, last tool, is the save the diff tool. It's a tool for saving changes as a diff file. Perfect. So kind of makes sense here. We have the original source code from here. The AI has modified that source code because it fixed the bug, and then it wants to save a diff file, which basically is the difference between the old code and the new code, so that a human can just read it and then just apply the changes only to the source code, and then deploy the server, and then the bug is never going to happen again because it's been fixed. So what does this diff tool do? It says, hey, give me the original code, give me the modified code. It uses a Python library to compute a diff, and then it saves it to an output file. So really simple here. So those are the three tools, and then let's talk about the agent. So the agent, we give it a name, it's bug fixer. We have to give it a description, so AI agent that analyzes error logs and source code to propose bug fixes. This is really nice, these instructions. So number one, read the error logs using the read error logs tool. Perfect. Analyze the source code using the read source code tool. This could be tweaked. It could say, hey, read the error logs, find which source code file has the error or is likely to have the error, then grab the text of that source code file, then analyze it. So we'll see if this is good enough as is. We may have to tweak some things here. Step 3 is propose changes to fix the bugs identified in the error logs. Use the save diff tool to save the proposed changes as a diff file. Cool. When you declare agents with agency swarm, you do have to include the list of tools. So here's the 3 tools we described earlier. Temperature, the lower means it's more deterministic and less super creative, doing crazy stuff. So 0.3 is a nice number that I've used in the past, so we'll use that. And then the final step, we have our 3 tools, we have our agent. The final step is just to kind of put them all together in an agency. When you have many agents, this first argument is a bit more complicated because you give it communication flows that are allowed. In our case, we have 1 agent, so we don't need to say, oh, bug fixer talks to A, B, C other agents. There's only 1 agent, so we just list that 1 agent right here. Shared instructions, this is kind of more relevant if there are multiple agents. It's kind of like, hey, here's 5 agents. Hey, all of you, do X, Y, Z. This is your mission in life, right? In our case, it's kind of, this is just very similar to the description for the agent itself. So that's the agency, temperature, let's keep that also at 0.3, and then we run the demo. This is just gonna start a interactive terminal session for us to interact with this AI agency. So the code looks good. It's a good basic version. There's 2 tweaks I had mentioned earlier that we may need to make better, but let's just run it and see how it works, right? So we're here. We're in our virtual environment. We installed agency swarm. I think we can just go python main.py. Okay, so we've got a prompt. So I have this already copied, and then oh, I don't have it copied. Let's go to GitHub. I have it here. So let's kind of read through this and make sure it's correct. Hello, I have some error logs that I want to fix bugs that each error represents. If possible, the error logs are in this directory. So let's make sure our directories are correct before we give this prompt to our AI. So we are here. Okay, cool. So we do have error logs in that directory. That's cool. And then source code is here. Let's double check that. Cool. So this is just the bug chat server folder, and the source code is here in main.go. So that looks good in terms of source code. And then please put your proposed diff files in this directory, diffs. So /diff. So I don't have that folder. We could absolutely tell the tool to make that diffs folder if it doesn't exist, but I'm just going to make it because it's so easy. So I think we're ready. Just going to copy this. Hello, I have some error logs and I want to fix the bugs that each error represents if possible. The error logs are in this directory. You can also access the source code here. The error logs will often point to a source file name and line of code, so you can look at that area of the source file and perhaps come up with suggested bug fixes if you see something that could be fixed or designed better or made more resilient. The goal is to make the code resilient instead of asking the caller to pass in better data. We should be able to handle anything that is close enough to what we might expect within reason. Please put your proposed diff files in this directory. Okay, let's give it a go and see if it works, or see if we need to make some modifications to our agent. All right, this is looking good. I'm going to scroll up and kind of go through what just happened here step by step. I gave the AI this prompt. The bug fixer agent said, hey, I'm going to execute a function. Read error logs tool. That's the first tool that we created. The AI passed the argument that we gave it up here. We said, hey, the error logs are this, and it passed in that exact directory to the read error logs tool. That worked. Excellent. It did actually encounter an error. It said this is a directory, it's not an error log. Okay, well, the AI recognized that and said, hey, hit error.log. Okay, and now the function is going to return the output of server.log. Is it server.log? Yeah, I guess it is. I forgot which one it's called, but either way, the point is that it actually passed in the directory. It didn't get any log data because it's a directory. It didn't actually look at the files, but now it's looking at the files. So here's the file that we saw earlier, right? The error log. And so now the AI has access to this. And then it says, hey, I want main.go. I want to read the source code now. I've seen the logs, I've seen the errors. I want to read the source code. So I want to look for main.go. Cool. And then the source code tool returns the entire contents of main.go. Cool. Now the bug fixer is analyzing this stuff, right? It called the first tool to get error logs, it called the second tool to get source code, and now it's doing its analysis. Here's the result of its analysis. The error logs indicate a recurring issue with nil pointer dereference in get messages of chat server struct. This error typically occurs when trying to access a field or method on a nil object. Let's analyze the get messages function to identify potential causes and propose a fix. Analysis of get messages function. In the get messages function, the error is likely occurring due to dereferencing message.expires without checking if it is nil. The expires field is a pointer, and if it is nil, attempting to dereference it will cause a nil pointer dereference error. To fix this issue, we need to add a check to ensure that message.expires is not nil before dereferencing it. If it is nil, we can assume that the message should not expire or handle it in a way that fits the application's logic. Here's the proposed change. So the old code did not have this, the new code does have it. Nil check. Before using message.expires, we check if message.expires is nil. If it is nil, we treat the message as valid, i.e. it does not expire. Logic handling. This logic assumes that a nil expires value means the message should not expire. Adjust this logic if your application requires different behavior. Cool. Let's save this proposed change to the diff file. Beautiful. Okay, so it is calling a function. Which function is it calling? The arguments are so long, but it's calling the save diff tool, right? And there's two arguments that the save diff tool takes in, at least two. It takes in the original file and it takes in the modified contents of the file with the bug fix. And so diff file saved to here. Okay, cool. Let's take a look at this. So I'm gonna, let's read the last thing. I've analyzed the error logs in the source code, identified the issue and proposed a fix. The problem was a nil pointer dereference in get messages function of the chat server. I added a check to ensure that the expires field is not nil before dereferencing it. The proposed changes have been saved here. You can apply this diff to your code base to fix the issue. If you need further assistance, feel free to ask. Okay, I'm just gonna cat this diff and see what happened. So it worked. So let's take a look at this in VI so you can color code it. So the old code is accessing message.expires, but message.expires could be nil. So the new code that the AI created said, hey, if message.expires is nil, just go through the if statement body, which is, hey, it's a valid message. Otherwise, then you do the expires logic. So now if message.expires is nil, it's not going to barf like it did before. We could test this. I'm going to do that just for the lulz. So we have this diff. I'm going to go up to bugged chat server, and let's just make sure that there's no diff here right now, right? Git status, there's nothing here. Everything's cool with main.go. What I will do is copy AI bug fixer YouTube diffs. I'm going to copy that here. Cool. So we have a main.go and we have a diff file. So I'm going to ask AI, how do I apply this diff? I'm going to cat it too, actually. I ran the AI and it worked on the first try. I want to apply the diff file it created. Can you help me out? The diff is pasted below and the source file is main.go. Certainly I can help you apply the diff file to your main.go file. The diff suggests adding that. Okay, so CP, now let's apply. Okay. Oh, okay. I thought there is a diff command line tool to auto apply a .diff to a file. You're absolutely right. Okay. Patch. Patch is the command. Patch main.go with this. Beautiful. Let's do that. I'm kind of excited. I actually haven't done this before with AI. So there's no changes to main.go right now, right? The main.go is unchanged, but I'm going to run the patch. Patch main.go with that. Patching main file.go. Boom. Okay, let's run the server. Let's run all these instructions over again. So we have, let's do startup. Server has been started. Let's send a working message that we saw before with expires. Let's get the messages. All good. Let's send the message without expires. This is the one that used to error out now when I get messages for Raza when there was no expiration. It works. No error. Very cool. So that's it. That is the video. We fixed a bug using AI agent, and it literally did cost like 10 cents. So $1.10. Let me refresh and see if it has changed. 19 cents. So we went from $1.10 to $1.19. So 9 cents for each bug fix. That's it. That's all I got for this video. This is Raza Writes Code. This was writing an AI agent to fix your bugs for 10 cents. We'll see you next time.